Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode on my BMW M2 competition. This car has been on a hell of a journey so far, and in this episode it's going to be action-packed because I've got tons of work to do. There's going to be limited talking. You guys have been commenting that I talk too much, I repeat myself, and I'm listening. So it's hard to hear, but I'm listening. As you can see here, I've taken the busted old door off the car. Over there on the floor, I've got a replacement door in the same color. But the replacement door hasn't got this, keyless entry. So I need to sort that out, and then I'm gonna be pulling and cutting the busted rear quarter panel. And to help me, I'm using this machine right here. It's a clever bit of kit, and I can't wait to show you. But first of all, I need to strip down the busted door and also strip down the new door, and here's how I got on. So after stripping down the original door, I thought, let me just double check if the new door was going to be working. And as you can see, most of the functions were working. However, the all important keyless entry wasn't. So I just continued to strip down the new door as well. I'll be showing you exactly what it is that's causing the issue, and it's so minor, but there's tons of work to access it. And here it is. The new door's wiring loom is missing this one extra plug which connects to the door handle, and here you have both of them next to each other, and you can see it hasn't got that plug. So I'm going to fit my original wiring loom into the replacement door, connect the handle, and check if everything works. Alright you guys, so this was a lot more headache than I thought, but have a look at the results. So now, when you close the car, it unlocks. Now it locks. But as you can see, there's a lot of tension there, and that's because it's time to move on to this rear quarter. So that brings me to this little device. I've hopped on. Have a look at it. It's so nice. I literally am so happy that I've got this. So once you connect the airline, you switch it on, watch what happens. It sucks down to the ground, and then completely solid. And once you turn off the air, as you can see, ignore the noise, it actually moves. So what I'm gonna do is, we need to connect it to the rear quarter, and I wanna pull this back out as much as I can so that I can straighten the inner panel, and then we're gonna start to remove the glass, and we're gonna be cutting this rear quarter out. I wanted to point out also, I got the door in the same color, and this is the front bumper that I got in the same color. The quarter is in the same color, but as you can see, that's got some damage, and I need to sort that out. But now that we've got the door on, everything here is lined up properly, everything there is lined up properly. Even the top edges of the door is all lined up, but as you can see that massive gap. And I'm gonna be using this line as a guide as to how far I need to pull it out. So let's go. So now I've welded on the pulling tabs. I'm going to connect the little pulling machine to these tabs and do some pulling, and let's see if it's actually up for the task. Let's see if this can pull the panel. So after the very first pull, I was very impressed, but I could tell I needed another point, so I welded on another tab and I began to pull that as well. Alrighty guys, check out this thing, man. This little animal, this thing is a beast. I don't care. It's so mobile and it's got good pulling power. Speaking of pulling power, have a look here. I've gone ahead and I've pulled the wing as much as I want to. I was trying to straighten out this little crease in there, but what I've ended up doing is separating this outer wing from this seam. You can see the gap here on the door is a lot better than it was before. It's still really bad because the entire wing is damaged, but it's a lot better than it was before, and that's what I wanted. I wanted it to come out so I can have a better idea of exactly where I want this new replacement wing to be. I'm in two minds. I can take the wing off, I can straighten this out and try to panel beat that, or I can just cut all of that out. I've got all the bits from the replacement panel that I've got, and I can just weld it in, seam seal it, and no one will know the difference. So I'll make my mind up once I remove this wing. I started to remove the rear bumper and the lights, etc., etc. Next, I'm going to remove this window, and we'll start to drill all the spot welds and begin to remove this rear quarter panel. So that's the next step. So I went ahead and I removed this little quarter panel window off camera. You've seen me do it a million times recently on the channel, and I want to target those spot welds. I actually hate this. I've done it many a times on Ricky's build, and it's literally a very painful task. But after you drill all the spot welds, you have to separate the glue and the seam seal, which is very tedious. But I made my way around the entire border of this rear quarter panel, and this is what we're left with. Alright guys, so after a lot of cutting and cuts on my hands, speaking of cutting, we've got that busted rear panel out of here. That's the one that's really damaged. But speaking of damage, have a look at this inner panel. Now, I was debating whether to cut the entire inner panel out and weld a new one in, but I spoke with some people and yeah, on second thought, the entire inner panel is okay from the back up to like this point. Right here is creased in. So I'm gonna clamp on here with this bad boy. This thing has been working so well. I'm just gonna try to straighten it out, get rid of all the creases. That's gonna give me back that nice shape that I'm looking for. And then I can get my new replacement panel and size it up.
So after pulling it out as far as it went with the machine, this is where a little bit of handwork, a little bit of skill in the panel beating process will come in handy. I picked up a few skills over the years, so I tried my luck and this is what I was left with. I'm pretty happy with that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up, I had to remove the rear window so I can remove the rest of the broken panel. As you can see, I cut around the edge and I left the edge until I removed this rear window. So hidden under that glass was more spot welds, more seam sealer, and more glue. Once again, it's very tedious, it's very long, and it's very back-breaking work. I understand now why it costs so much to replace a rear quarter panel. I used my Dremel tool to access the tight spots. I went ahead and continued the removal process, and this is what we're left with. Now simultaneously I was dealing with this, my replacement panel, and as you can see, the power of editing, I've got the outer skin off, and this is what I'm going to be fitting onto the car. Whilst I was straightening the inner panel, I found that there was a spot weld that had broken, so I went ahead and I welded that up, smoothed it down, and I'll apply some new seam sealer later on in the build.
Alright guys, so I've just finished welding up this panel, nice and straight, nice and solid. This is a lot of work. I'm actually knackered. Steve finished work from next door. He came over, he gave me a hand. It's now going up to 8 p.m, but I'm pulling the all-nighter. I at least want to get it on the car, and then I can make my cut lines, my final cut lines. So I cut up here a bit short, and I cut on the new panel a bit long. I'm going to be sleeving it. And if you know what that means, then you know what it means, isn't it? But anyway, I'm gonna be sleeving it. I'm gonna tack it into place, but then we'll come back in tomorrow. I've ordered a belt sander. We're gonna be sanding down all the spot welds. I'm learning so much as I go on, and a lot of you guys always ask, how did I get into this, or how did I learn what I do? You know what, I give it a go, I learn, and I get better. I've done it before on Ricky's LLF car, and now on this M2, I've learned a lot more from when I did that one. So I'm making slight adjustments, and you guys are getting in the comments all the time and helping me out, so I want to thank you. But anyway, let's go and fit this wing on the M2.
So fitting this wing to the M2 is easier said than done. There's a lot of jigging, pulling, testing, remove it again, and repeat the entire process. I got some help from some local car guys, and it just helped me to feel at ease with what I was doing. I got some good advice, and I made a plan, and I decided to call it a night.
Alright guys, it's the next morning, and as you can see, we stayed really late and we got that rear quarter panel situated. It's looking really, really good. Check this out. If I squeeze that in, the gaps are not looking too bad, but it's still quite loose. We still need to arrange everything, making sure that everything is seated perfectly. We're gonna be doing that now. I've just come in. On the way in, I picked up a belt sander. Tons of work left to do on this car, on this rear quarter, so let's continue.
If you remember earlier, I told you that I ordered a belt sander. That was waiting for me on my doorstep when I arrived, so I put that straight to use. And this thing just makes light of this sort of work. I don't know what I was missing without a belt sander. Anyway, back to the job. The lower sill had some damage and it wasn't lining up with the replacement panel, which was straight. So I had to pull that out, get that to the right position, and as you can see, it's dented right at the bottom. So I went ahead, used my glue system, pulled that out until it lined up. Now once I weld this panel into place, there's no second takes. So it's literally fit, test, remove, fit, test, remove, until it's absolutely perfect before there's any sort of welding. Once I was happy with the positioning, it was time to remove that rear panel for the final time and complete tons of prep. I have to sand back each edge so that I've got something to weld onto, but remember earlier I told you I'm sleeving it, and this is the sleeving process right here.
Alrighty guys, so after a lot of cutting, welding, lifting, shaping, check this out. I'm very happy with this. It's opening, it's closing, and it's very flush there. I've measured the line on the other side, and I'm happy with the line all the way down. I've just tacked it in at specific spots. What I'm gonna do now is get it back on all 4 wheels, see how it reacts, and then once I'm happy with that, I can go ahead and weld everything up, sand it back, and apply some primer. Woo! Come on!
Just a disclaimer for the rev police, the car has been running and it's warmed up. Now with the car on the ramp, I've noticed that the spring was broken and also the suspension strut was bent. So thanks to my subscriber Chris, in the previous episode he sent me over tons of parts. One of those parts was a replacement suspension strut, and here it is. So I went ahead and I swapped that out, and I went ahead and cleaned up all the bolts to make sure that everything is moving nice and free as it's supposed to. So after days of testing, fitting and prepping the car, it's time to prep the wing, making sure that all my welding points are clean. But before any welding, I wanted to do one final check. With the bumper, rear light, tailgate, side skirt, everything, I wanted to make sure that the gaps were perfect, because like I said earlier, there's no second takes. Now as Steve would say, everything was looking pucker, so I went ahead and I fitted some self-tapping screws around the perimeter to hold it in that position. I thought this was a perfect time to try my replacement side skirt. Once again, I'm just double checking all of the gaps. Now have a look at this. Look at the gap towards the rear, it's quite big. But that's because I'm missing the bracket that goes there. I'm showing you right here that there's tons of room for adjustment, and once the bracket is in, that's gonna hold it closer and making that gap perfect. Next, I'm using my glue system to pull this dent on the other side. There's not a lot of damage here, or at least that's what I thought until I removed the side skirt. It's weird. How did this damage get there, but the side skirt is not damaged? So that's some more hidden damage on this car, but we keep it moving, and this is how I fixed it. So guys, after all of that prep, all of that work, I was confident that the panel was in the correct position, so I went ahead and welded everything up. Wait until you see the results. Now guys, when I moved to the new Essen garage, I wanted to learn, I wanted to evolve, and one of the things that I've been learning and evolving is my welding. Now everything was going perfectly until this happened. Headache. I got a snag in the welder and I had to remove all the wiring, and when I looked, have a look, I'm out of wire. I'm actually out of wire on a Sunday morning. What am I gonna do? I made a few calls, and my mate George also made a few calls, and boom.
Alrighty guys, so we got the new welding wire in, we got it going, it's just about to come through. Yay!
On my travels, I met a fellow YouTuber from the Grounded Effects channel. If you want, go check him out. But with the new wire fitted, I was able to continue, and guys, this thing came out so sick. So this is what the car looks like on day one. It was an absolute mess, but look at it now. I went ahead and I sanded all the welds. I'm going to be treating this with some red oxide primer, as well as refitting some seam sealer. But we're going to be doing that in a later episode, so stay tuned and make sure you're subscribed. I went ahead and I fitted the replacement front bumper that I bought, but I'm still after a headlight and a passenger side wing. If you have any, do get in touch.
So guys, there you have it, man. This thing is an absolute beast. It looks amazing, it drives amazing, it sounds amazing, and I personally think for my first ever attempt at changing a rear quarter, I think that looks amazing. We got all the little kids out. What do you guys think of the cars? What do you think of the cars? Yeah? You got the R8, you got the M2, M140. Which is your favorite?
That one. Yeah, that one.
That one, yeah? All right. So you guys take your pictures, do your thing, and I'll wrap up this video. But yeah, guys, speaking about wrapping up videos, before I go, guys, this car's back, and look at it. If you've seen the previous episode on this car, I rebuilt this car, and actually, you know what, let me talk to you lot. Guys, the last time you saw this car, I rebuilt the front end, and I showed you the video. It left me on a Friday night. Saturday, it got into another accident. I went ahead and I purchased this car from the previous owner, so it belongs to us. Actually, it belongs to one of you. I'm gonna be rebuilding this car, and at the end of the build, I'm raffling it to one of you guys for 99p. This car, I'm gonna mod it to the high heavens. I want you guys to let me know in the comments, what mod should I do? And at the end of every single episode on this car, I'm gonna be dropping another, it's gonna be like interactive. You lot are going to be telling me what you want to see. What should I do? You're going to be directing this entire build, and I'm going to be raffling it for 99p. Check this out. Guys, I've just picked up all the documentation. Look, spare key. You got the full service history. It's actually been on a dyno. It's pushing 456. It's on a stage 2 tune. Tons and tons of money has been spent on this car, and you guys are going to be getting this car for 99p. It's HPI clear, it's an M140, it's worth 17 to 20 grand. When I drop the first video, I'm going to tell you how the accident happened, and I'm going to be preventing similar accidents from happening, because I'm going to be sticking an LSD on this car. It's going to get upgraded, everything. And you guys are going to be telling me what to do every single episode. At the end of every episode, like I said, I'm gonna pose a question to you lot, and you guys are gonna get to vote, interact, and you're gonna be dictating what I do with this car for the new M140 build for you lot, because you guys are gonna be getting it at the end, so stay tuned for that. There's exciting times here at Salvage Nation, and the one car that you guys are waiting for, have a look at it. Ricky's M140. I promise you, the video's coming soon, and an explanation for all the delays is coming soon as well, because I've been let down time and time again on this car, but I want to honor my word to Ricky, and that's why I've been longing everything out. A lot of you guys have been getting in the comments. I've seen some really interesting comments saying that Ricky's not paying, or Ricky is known for this. Listen, Ricky's been really, really good to me and the channel. All the delays have nothing to do with Ricky. And Ricky, if you're watching this, I can only apologize. All the delays with Ricky's build is down to myself and the people that I trusted to help me out with this build. But as you can see, we've done major work on the car and the new video is going to be dropping soon. So I just wanted to clear that up. This is where we're going to end this episode. Don't forget, let me know what you think of the M140. It's back again. It's back on the channel, but this time we're doing it different. The M2, let me know what you think of this video. If you liked it, press the like button. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, press the subscribe button, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Boom.
Coming up next on Salvage Nation, I'm going into the classic game. This is going to be different. I bought this rust bucket. It's an absolute mess, and I'm telling you, it's going to be difficult.
It's actually worrying times. Oh, what's that? Why is it doing that? You muppet. Steve, you got the bloody thing back to front. What are you doing?
Testing you.
Then we're finally going to be finishing off Ricky's LLF car. We're going to be meeting up with Ricky, handing over his car, and I've got a massive surprise for him and for you guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that, why don't you check out one of my previous videos on the left? There's plenty in the playlist. And if you want to know more about the Salvage game, why don't you become a member of Salvage Nation, and I'll be there to guide you along the way. And don't forget, you can follow me on Facebook, TikTok and Instagram if you want to get an inside scoop before YouTube.